Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's episode. We're going to be looking at the roof framing plan for this one bedroom house that we have been drawing for the longest while now. Anyways, if it's your first time on the channel, thank you for joining us. I hope that after watching this video you will, learn something, which would also prompt you to hit that subscribe button, hit the like, or hit the share. All you gotta do is just do one of those things. And if you missed the previous episodes coming up to this point, then everything is in the description, the link, everything. So without further ado, let's get into the roof framing plan drawing. Alright guys, so here we are back in AutoCAD architecture and we're gonna just get straight into it. So as you can see, I currently have the roof framing plan view open up because we're gonna be working inside of this drawing today. This drawing was created back in episode 12 when we had created our views from the project navigator. So make sure you go back and watch that one if you missed it. All right, that's how we got to this point. Now, it's important to note that a roof framing plan is different from a roof plan. All right, I have an illustration here in Google SketchUp. So it's a similar roof to what we have over there for the one bedroom house. And as you can see, this is what a roof plan would look like with just the overall layout and shape of the roof. And you can have additional details and annotations on this, such as the arrows showing the direction of flow. We could also have the, labeling telling us where the roof gutter is, and also like the material that we're going to use on the roof, things like those. All right, but the roof framing plan shows us more of what is underneath this layer right here, which would be what we are seeing here. All right, and so this drawing is very important because it shows us the skeleton underneath the flesh. You understand? We are seeing all these structural elements that actually hold up the roof. And so producing a drawing like this will be important for the carpenter to have so that he can know, or she, where each rafter should be at. The spacing between each of them, what size rafters are they, and just the general layout of the structural elements beneath that roof covering. All right, guys. So this is what we want to produce. Something similar to this, not exactly like this, but similar to this in AutoCAD architecture. Now, the problem with AutoCAD is that just like with this, I was able to create a 3D representation in Google SketchUp. In AutoCAD, it's actually more difficult to do. So it's easier, especially for a simple roof like this, to just do it in a two-dimensional setting. So even though we have this building as a 3D building, we're going to be doing this roof framing plan as a two-dimensional drawing. So that is what we're going to be doing here. Now, the first thing we want to do right now is to get rid of the things that we don't want to see, such as windows, doors, and openings. Of course, I already turned off the space layer, right? Space, that's off. But I'm not going to actually turn off these ones. What I'm going to do is to raise the cutting plane. Here it is down here, 3 feet 6. We're going to raise it to 9 feet, which would be above everything. When we go back to our plan view, we shouldn't be seeing anything. All right, so let's do that. Open it up. And we're going to change this to 9 feet. But we also want to change this number also to 9 feet. And the reason being is that currently it is at -10, which means that everything that goes all the way down to -10 feet, we'll still be able to see some representation of those objects. We don't want to see anything below 9 feet. So it's going to be another 9 feet right there. We're going to hit OK. Just like that, everything disappears, even though they're still there, but we don't want to see them. All right. The next thing I'm going to advise you to do is to change your scale to the scale that you want to do this drawing at. And this is very important because it does affect the line type and the hatching, even though we're not going to be using any hatching in this demonstration today. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to flatten this 3D drawing, because currently this is a 3D object. I want to flatten it so that we have just a 2D drawing. I'm sure there are many ways we can do this, but the easiest way that I have found is to just go to our section elevation drop down here and go to hidden line projection. Once we click on this button, all we need to do is to select all the objects we want to be in this projection. So we highlight everything, and then we're going to hit enter, and then all we need to do is to place it where we want it. So I'm going to place it like maybe like right here, and I'm going to hit enter. And just like this, we have this drawing. It looks very similar to this one, but the difference is if I should go into 2D or 3D rather, we can see that this is a flat drawing while this remains a 3D drawing. So now we have this over here to work with. All right, and the beautiful thing about this tool here is that you can use it to do anything. If you want an isometric projection, just set the drawing in isometric, use the tool and place it, and once you go back to your top view, you're gonna have that isometric drawing over here. All right, so try it out, experiment with it. All right, so now that we have this 2D drawing, let's explode it. All right, because we want to be able to manipulate each line by themselves. And the problem with this now is that when we explode it, these lines become broken apart as well, and it's kind of hard to go through and select them all. So what we're going to do is to right click and say select similar. So what happened, the problem now is that it has selected the walls, and I kind of want to keep the walls as well. So now we're going to have to try another solution. Let's try to select everything that is on this particular color. Okay, how do we do that though? We have a command that is called smart select. Quick select, not smart. We don't want to do it to the entire drawing. We're going to select the region that we want this operation to take place. So only in this region, and we're going to hit enter. And then what kind of objects? We want to select some lines, and we want to use the color of the line. And then we want the color to be this color right here. All right, because that's the color we want to get rid of. And then we're going to say okay. And then just like that, we have selected all of those lines on that particular color. Boom, delete it, gone. So far so good. I want to just kind of clean up this little area here. So if you notice, we kind of want to see the walls beneath the roof. That's important because the carpenter will need to know which wall is located at what area of the roof and which wall is supporting the roof, and have a general idea where each room is located. So you want to have the rooms. The problem with this is that the walls are in solid lines while the roof is in hidden, and we kind of want it to be the opposite. All right, we want the roof to be solid and we want the walls to be hidden. So I have already gone ahead and created 2 layers. So I have a roof framing layer. I have it in orange and it's continuous with a 0.5 line weight, and the wall I actually change it to hidden and at a 0.2 line weight. Let me X this off. The reason why you're not seeing the changes here is because these lines are not using the what we call by layer option. All right, so that's something we need to fix. So we're going to select all of these, select similar. I'm going to put them on the roof framing plan, and we're going to change the color to be by layer. I'm also going to change the line type to be by layer. We're going to do the same thing with the walls. Select similar, and we're going to say by layer, line type, by layer, line weight, also by layer. I don't think I had changed these guys to by layer for the line type, so let's check that again. Yep, so this should be by layer. And if you notice, by changing everything to by layer, you notice what happened now. Now the roof is in focus while the walls are in the background. From here, we can go ahead and start to add our roof framing elements. So all your rafters, all your fascia board and all of that. I like to begin with the fascia board because I think for this particular project, that's the easiest place to begin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch over to the roof framing layer and then draw a box over this. And then I'm going to offset 1 inch because we know that the fascia board is 1 inch by 10. Enter. And then I'm going to offset this inward. All right, do not put it on the outside, put it on the inside. All right, so that would represent my fascia board right there. All right, and then the next step would be to start on the ridge and then I work my way out. But I find that the easiest way to do this is to use the box tool. So I'm going to draw a box which measures 2 inches by 2 inches, and it looks stupid, but check this out. I'm going to copy this box and I'm going to place it right here. All right. I'm going to just drag this now out to this end. And just like that, I already have my ridge board. Now guys, if you're unfamiliar with the parts of the roof, it's important that you learn the different parts of the roof, such as the gable, hip, valley, and things like those. You also need to be familiar with the different names for the rafters as well. So make sure to Google that and learn what you need to learn. So I'm gonna stretch this out just another inch, so that the corners line up with these lines here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to copy this, or let me copy this box again, because we're going to be copying this box quite a bit. Control Shift C, so I can paste it multiple times. So I'm going to rotate this box 45 degrees so that it turns this way, and then I can turn off ortho mode. And I'll pull this down all the way to this point here. So now I have my hip rafter. Look at that. Control V again to paste. I want this one to be move right on the edge of that, and I'm going to stretch this out. Turn on the ortho mode all the way to the edge of this fascia board right there. All right, so far so good. And then I'm going to just rotate this from the center here using the copy tool, and I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees. So what we did there was to rotate this to get a duplicate around this side. All right, so these are kind of how you want to start to lay out your roof, and a simple roof like this makes it even easier, because once we do one side, we can mirror it to get the other side. So we have that. Let's go ahead and copy this common rafter, and we're going to copy it out to get our other rafters, which would be 24 inches apart. So that's the maximum you want to be at. All right, and then I'm going to stop right here because I'm going to flip this on this side. I'm going to just keep going down inside of here. So let's just copy these. I'm going to use a reference point to copy those so I can move quickly. All right, so now I have all of these rafters going down. Obviously, these ones need to be shortened to line up on this hip rafter. So what I'm going to do here is to just bring these points down. And this is the beautiful thing about using the box or the rectangle tool. I can simply just manipulate the box to get the shape that I need. And it works perfectly, guys. You know, done away with the offset business. You know, and I'm sure there's an easier way to do this too, you know, but I find this to be quite easy to do it that way, because now everything is like an object by themselves. All right, one of the things I want to do as well is to edit this rafter so that it stops in this corner on both ends. So I'm gonna put an extra vertex in the middle there, can see that, and then I'm gonna bring it this center all the way down to here, and then bring these corners down to there where you see the X, that green X, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing down here where we're going to add vertex. I'm going to place the vertex right where we need it, and then we're going to move these two ends. Oops, that's wrong. Move these two ends up to where you see the green X, which would mean intersection. Good, so that rafter looks beautiful right in that corner there. And then all we need to do now is to mirror. So what we're going to do here is to mirror all of these rafters, including the hip rafter, over onto this side. So let's use the mirror tool, and we're going to find the center of this line where you see that triangle midpoint, and then we're going to just drag it. But we need to turn on the ortho mode so that we get a straight line down. So we're going to click and we're going to hit enter. So just like that, now we have one side completed. Now, if you notice, each of these are currently at a 2 feet center to center. But in the middle here, we have a slight issue. This one is a little bit smaller than what is required to get a 2 feet distance. So because it is smaller, what we're going to do is to just copy this one, and we're going to just place it in the dead center, which means that this portion would be a tad bit smaller than the the 2 feet, but that's okay. Because you want them to be a maximum 2 feet, but it can also be less. All right. So bear that in mind. All right. So once we get that, what I'm going to do now is to do some more mirror. So I'm going to actually mirror these guys to fill this gap right here. How you do that? All right. Check this out. Mirror. And this time we're going to use this 45-degree center line as our mirror line. So we're going to click in the center there, drag it down to this corner. And just like that, we're going to hit enter. And now we have the next 1/8. And so again, we're going to just mirror these guys, all of these over to this side. So let's do that. Mirror, just like we did earlier from that green triangle. Click enter, and look at that, we have half of the roof done. And then I'm going to just do the same thing again. That. All right, so I don't need these two because these are already on the center line. I don't want to mirror those. So I'm going to just mirror what we have here. And we're going to mirror from this center here to this center here. And look at that. We have a finished roof framing plan. Delete that. All right. And so this is looking wonderless, beautiful. So what I'm going to do actually, there's a tool that I discovered. I've never really used it much in the past, but I'm using it now. We're going to select everything and we're going to just group. I don't know how I didn't think about this before, but when you group objects, it's not really a block, because usually when you create a block and you select the block, you would see the name change here to blocks. But AutoCAD is telling us that we have selected 54 polylines, which means we can still treat this as if it were a polyline. We can edit the polyline, we can convert it. You know, that's a nice tool to just group your elements together. So that way, you know, mistakenly do something stupid. So I'm going to do the same thing with the walls. Select all, and I'm going to just group. And you can also ungroup it by just typing ungroup. All right. So the walls are grouped, the roof is grouped, and so now we're going to add some details to this drawing. One of the first ones I usually like to add is the rafter labels, and this is how I usually do it. I know there are a lot of different ways to do this, but this is how I usually go about doing it. First of all, I am on the wrong layer. All right, so I'm going to go back to 0. I'm currently using the 0 layer as my notes layer to add notes, so bear that in mind. You might want to create a separate layer for that. All right, so I usually create this big dot and place it right in the middle here, and I'm gonna copy it 2 times over to this rafter, and this rafter I'm gonna move it down a little bit. Then I'm gonna draw a line through the middle. Then I'm gonna group them. All right, so this is how I usually do this. And then I would add a note on here that says, all right, so this note has a lot of stuff inside of it. This is telling us the size of the material, the treatment of the material on the type of wood, common jack rafters. So it is telling us that this is applied to both the common rafters, which are the full length rafters, as well as the jack rafters, which are the ones that are cut at an angle. And then these are mainly 2 feet center to center. And we use the term mainly because, of course, we know that we have one in the middle here, or 2 that is not equally spaced at the 2 feet. So we use that term right there. All right. And so, of course, I'm going to pull this out so that it can look a little bit nicer. All right. So something like that. And of course, we're going to mirror this on the other side. I'm going to be using the mirror tool quite often in this video, guys. So just like that, that is done. And I'm going to mirror this as well. Let me use this one up here on the 45 so I can get it on the right there. And I'm going to mirror this again to get it in the middle. not in the middle, on the other side. So now I have on all four sides, and then I'm going to just copy this over, F8, turn that off, and then trying to get it straight. All right, good. Of course, I probably should have mirrored this as well. So far, we have all our common and jack rafters labeled. Now we can go ahead and add, rather copy this, because most of the rafters are the same size. Of course, in different scenarios, you'll have different size rafters, so you need to pay attention to that. I think we'll make this 2 by 8, which would mean that this would be 200 WPP hip rafter. All right, so the hip rafter is just a tad bit bigger, and that's all you'd have for the hip rafter. There's no center to center and that kind of thing, because it's, you know, it's just one on that side. And of course, we're gonna mirror this all over the place. Mirror, mirror. Good. And then we have one ridge board in the middle here, so I'm gonna just probably just I'm gonna just copy this, and I'm gonna say 2 by 10. I think 10 would be 250. Ridge board. And of course, I'm gonna move the arrow over. I'm gonna actually move this over a tad bit. Good. All right, so that's the ridge board. And then finally, we just want to add one last label to capture the fascia board. And this would be a 1 by 10, which would mean 25 by 250 fascia board, period. All right, and of course, you know how the drill go already. I mean, sometimes you don't even have to put them all around. You could just, you know, give a general label and say tip, which is the shortening for typical. But, you know, I'm just going all out for this. And I'm not even going to put any at the top there. I'm just leave it right there. And then finally, we can't leave off our arrows that will show the direction of flow. So I do have this arrow that is in the design center. Control 2, that will bring this up. And of course, you can follow my directory here. I think it's located in the same spot for all AutoCAD software. So dynamic blocks. And in this thing here, you have a little arrow that I use quite often. So I'm going to bring it in, X this off. And so here it is. I'm going to have to just use this scale, but this scale drawings thing here. All right, so I'm going to scale it down like this. Actually, let me rotate it first, 90 degrees. And I'm going to move it and place it roughly about here, maybe. Yeah, right here. Yeah, I think it's a good spot. And you know the drill already. I'm going to just mirror. The arrow is still a little bit big, but, you know, you can adjust yours to make it look nicer. Mirror. Have it on that side, and then I'm going to mirror again. Mirror again. And then I'm going to mirror again. So now we have arrows showing us the direction of flow. These arrows are really big and ugly, but it is what it is. And so now what is left for us to do? We're going to add some detailed section, because remember, if we go back to our detail views down here, we did have a detail for eave as well as ridge. All right, so what we want to do is to show those detail callouts on this drawing as well. So we're going to go to annotate, and we're going to go to callouts, and we're going to select this particular one that tells us the drawing number as well as the sheet number. Okay, and this one has the tail on it. I like the one with the tail. So I'm gonna place it, actually I'm gonna place it down here. Let's drag this and click, hit enter, and then you can tell it which direction you want to turn. I'm going to turn it up and click, and then we do not want to create any drawing. We're going to just say call out only, and later on we will be filling in these fields with the appropriate information. We're going to do one in the middle here as well for the ridge, so go ahead again and click on that, and let's just draw one here and hit enter, and then I'm going to turn it this direction and I'm going to say call out only. All right, and the same thing applies here. Okay, so these are the only two details we're going to be having. If you had a valley, then you have a valley detail, of course you'd want to do one more, as well as other parts of the roof. If you had additional details, you could add as much detail callouts as you need. All right, but this is all we need for this particular drawing. We're not going to add anything else. The only thing we're going to do now is to just create our view, and you already know the SHREPS roof framing plan. All right, and we're going to select our region, which would be something like that, and we're going to hit OK. And of course we can go ahead and add our title, and the title would be something like that with the roof framing plan. For some reason these things are not filling in, but leave it there. So this is what we have for our roof framing plan. Okay guys, and this is all you really need to scrape through at Parish Council. Of course we do have our additional details, such as the eave detail and the ridge detail, that we're going to be fleshing out in another video, as well as all of these other little things right here. All right, so don't worry about that, we're going to get there, but for now this is where we're going to stop this video. I hope that you learned something. I'm going to drop this particular sheet drawing in a PDF so that you can download it in the links below. All right, so definitely check the description below for that. Alright guys, we're gonna add one last thing on here that I almost forget, that we could also put the slope of the roof on here, and we can represent that by simply drawing a triangle. And basically we want to have something looking like a right angle triangle, something like that. And this is the slope symbol, and we're going to write underneath that what slope it is. Now this roof is at a 30-degree slope, which if you work it out to be represented in the roof slope standard, it would be 6.94 to 12. Of course we could round this off to 7, but if we do, that means the roof would be a little bit over the 30 degrees slope, which we already have modeled. All right, so we don't want to change that. All right, so we're gonna put this like one here, and we could actually put another note underneath here to say tip for all slopes. All right, I mean, if you had different slopes, then of course you want to put a triangle wherever that different slope is. But since we only have one angle used across the entire roof, we'll just put something like that over there, and that should be good to go. All right, so yeah, that's it. My God, that was a long video. Jeez. Anyways, thank you for watching the video today. I hope that you learned something and you know what to do already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like, share, comment, and all of that. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Big up yourself. You don't know anything about elbow pump.